And each time we have this parole hearing, I express the same emotion and the same feelings and the same pain. And I don't think my pain or emotion will ever change. David never gave my brother the chance to live. He didn't have to. He didn't have the heart to help him from a burning car. He watched as my brother was tortured alive trying to survive. And the thought of his inhumane feelings to another life just fills me with anger.
It was back in September of 2002 when her brother was killed, when her brother and her brother's friend were killed in what they would later say was a narcotics deal gone wrong. But I think there's much more to it than that. They were shot. And then, as they were trying to escape their car parked in front of a church parking lot, the car was intentionally lit on fire. And then, as they were trying to crawl from the burning vehicle, they were intentionally, deliberately driven over. This is more than just a narcotics deal gone wrong. This was an assassination. This was intentional. This was murder. Now, before we watch this 2025 parole hearing, we will do my favorite thing and take a flashback to the past to his original commutation hearing. And with that, let's jump in.
Mr. Maines, you're here before the pardon board this afternoon because you submitted an application for clemency. You were sentenced in Vermilion Parish on April 22nd, 2005. You have 2 counts of manslaughter. You received 40 years on each of those counts running consecutively. Also, a conviction for distribution of cocaine for which you received a 19-year sentence. So it's a total of 99 years DOC. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jones. Answer his questions, please.
Mr. Maines, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Great, good. Okay, you, Mr. Maines, tell me a little bit about why we're here, why you're doing this time. Just back it up a little bit and tell me about what was going on with you during that time.
The crime, sir?
Yes, sir, the crime.
Yes, sir. Jim Wynn came to me and my brother one night and asked us to accompany him on a drug deal. During that drug deal, Jim Wynn shot Joe Wynn. During the commotion, I grabbed my shotgun and fired numerous times at Joe Wynn. A high-speed car chase ensued after, with Jim Wynn firing a 12-gauge buckshot from the back of the truck at Joe Wynn and Tang Wynn as they sped away. Their car came to stop in a church parking lot with both of them still in it, and I presumed they were dead at the time. Jim proceeded to light the car on fire, and as we were leaving, Jim yelled at my brother to turn around and run over Joe Wynn, who was at that time laying outside the car on the church parking lot. And my brother did, and that image still haunts me to this day.
So this was a drug deal going bad?
In essence, yes, sir.
Are you a drug addict or was a drug addict?
Yes, sir.
What age did you start using drugs?
I think I started my senior year and in my college days.
Anything particular that after that led to that? Any particular reason?
Well, the reasons why initially this partying, but I've after taking NA and discovering more about myself, I've come to realize it was because of my insecurities. I was uncomfortable in social situations.
Okay. So when were you first arrested? What was your first arrest? My
first arrest was probably around 19 or so. Discovered the peace by intoxication.
No juvenile arrest?
No, sir.
Did you live at home with both parents?
My parents were divorced at the time.
Okay.
But for most of my life, yes.
Okay. What kind of work were you ever employed on the outside?
Well, I was attending college, but I actually helped raise pigeons for a guy. He had raised pigeons. I would take care of them. That was my college job.
Okay. What kind of work have you been doing since you've been incarcerated?
Well, for probably the last 15 or so years, after receiving a trade in HVAC, I've steadily done maintenance HVAC, and I'm currently working at State Police headquarters, maintaining their HVAC equipment and running the central plant.
Okay. And done a lot of things since you've been incarcerated. Which of those programs you think have helped you the most to get where you are today?
Well, sir, NA helped me really decide that I needed to make a change. But the one that really affected me the most was probably learning how to teach in reentry, because it was a challenge mentoring or teaching a trade to some of these younger inmates who were really not mature enough to receive the trade. I really had to work with them. And ultimately, it made me feel like I was giving back and feel good about myself. And that's where I discovered that I like to help other people.
Any disciplinary problems since you've been incarcerated?
I've had 2 write-ups. 15 years was a contraband for having boiled eggs in my locker. And I think I had 2 years before that, unauthorized area, being in my friend's dorm.
Great, good job. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Roche, you have questions?
Madam Chairman, I have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Marabella?
Mr. Maines, in response to a question from Mr. Jones, you indicated that the thing perhaps maybe what you remember most or most fondly of is teaching and being able to help other people and the feeling that you have. And I certainly appreciate that. And I think that's a wonderful thing psychologically for you to learn. And that is helpful to you without question. Tell me what you consider to be the most important thing you have learned about keeping you off of drugs and keeping you straight while you've been there. What programs have been the most helpful to you in that regard?
Yes, sir. NA, step 4, taking a moral inventory of myself. And that's what I came to find my faults, which was being self-centered. And that really showed me to make a change, because I had seen what I had done to the victim's family and my own family. And when I began to search why, I realized I was self-centered and I only cared about how my actions affected me and not other people. So therefore, I went forth trying to stomp out that defective character. And that's actually what led to getting in some of these mentoring programs because of that.
When did you first start using drugs?
I would have to say 18.
Okay. And what kind of drugs did you use?
Well, I started, drinking, smoking pot, but that led on to doing ecstasy, cocaine, opiates.
Okay. Now, you've indicated that NA is extremely important to you and is very important to you. What do you anticipate your support system to be once you leave prison?
Yes, sir. Well, in the past, I've attended NA meetings, and I'm going to continue 2 or 3 times a week attending meetings. I also have my family as support, which they've been there in the past, and I plan for them to be there in the future. Recovery is an ongoing thing, and it's something I will fight with for the rest of my life. And attending meetings and the support system they have to be accountable to other people is very important to me.
How long have you been at the police barracks?
8 years.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. So Mr. Maines, you mentioned college. You have 2 years at ULL.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you studying?
Industrial technology.
Okay. And how old are you?
How old? I'm 40.
You're 40. And how long you been in jail?
18 going on 19 years.
Okay. 18, 19 years. Okay. I don't have any other questions at this time. I may in a little while. Mr. Swear,
Yes, ma'am.
can
Thank you
you
very
offer
much.
anything?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. David's been with us for approximately 8 years. The job assignments he's had here are primarily in the maintenance section, and Mr. Alonso will confirm that for me a little later. He's maintained an excellent disciplinary record with only 2 write-ups during his entire incarceration, none while he's here. He's very productive in his work. We depend on him for the type of skills that he has. He's been very productive for state police. We think he's an excellent candidate.
Thank you. And I wanted to point out, I think you said you had a contraband write-up, David, but the record shows 2 write-ups, both of which were low court write-ups.
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
it was, yeah.
And it was eggs in my locker. I'm assuming it was something. Like that.
Yeah. Anyway, they were low. It was not labeled as contraband. So
Okay.
just so you know. So let's hear from the others who are here to speak in support. We'll start with Mr. Alonso. There you go.
There you go. How you doing? My
Good.
name is
How are you?
Barry Alonso. I retired from Department of Public Safety at State Police Headquarters in 2016. Dave came to work for us, and I want to say it was around 2013. And at the time, he was a godsend for me, because at the time I was the only one, in being a superintendent, I was the only one who had the capability and the knowledge of being able to run the central plant for the chill water, comfort cooling, and comfort heating for the whole plant, for the whole compound. Dave came in, and I brought him there. I showed him the system, and he was in awe. And he sat there and he told me, he said, "I've read about this, but I've never seen it." And I'm like, okay. I said, "But here it is," and I sat there for hours and showed him how the system works, what do we do, how this goes and that. And from there, I pretty much labeled him a sponge. He asked me if there was a book that he could, read. And all the buildings at the state, we all have what they call P&M manuals. It tells you everything that's in the building, everything that was, put in there. And the central plant had 3 huge binders that we had. And I told him, I said, "Well, we got these." And he took those and I offered, and I made it available to him where he could take it to the barracks and read. And I said, "Well, just take it and, read up on it." And I said, "Tomorrow we'll go over some more stuff." Well, he brought the book back the next day, and I said, "Well, I thought you was going to keep it." He said, "Well, I've read it." And I said, "You read the whole book?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I want the next one." So I gave him another one, and he went through there. And in lieu of all that, I ended up calling him a sponge, because he has such a thirst for knowledge, and he has tried and succeeded to do nothing but better himself since he's been incarcerated. We sat down one day and talked about what got him there, and he told me that he has regrets every day for what he's done. And he said, "The only way I can live with myself and look myself in the mirror is to realize that if I lay here and wallow in it, that's exactly what I'll end up doing. If not, I can only do better myself by giving back." And he has, since he's been here, been at the barracks under my time, he has helped other inmates go through these same courses that he took. He got there and asked them to continue to, help them study, and they studied together and everything, and they passed the course. Dave has had several, and I don't even know the number of them, and I think he's completed most of them, several courses that we offered, and our boss was, sat there and he gave him the test, and why, he was the proctor, and Dave passed every one of them. And he's also helped the other inmates to take the test and continue on. Dave is an amazing young man. Ever since I met him, I can honestly say the whole time we've worked together, and we have been in some pretty hot spots at times. Never had a cross word. He's shown me nothing but respect. And that's the one thing that I inspire in a man like that. I understand what he did, but he has done nothing but try to better himself. Since that, he has tried by, like he said, going through taking care of his drug issue. He's done nothing but try to improve his education. He has such a thirst for knowledge, and he just sits there and he reads, and it's just, 1 year for Christmas, he gave me a Christmas present. It was a picture that he painted. And after the holidays, we were back, and we was out there on a cold January morning working on the cooling towers out in the open. And I asked him, I said, I didn't know that you had that much talent. He said, what do you mean? And I said, Dave, that picture was beautiful, He said, and it was a picture of LSU, and I'm a Tiger fan. I said, I got it hanging on the wall. And as a matter of fact, it's hanging on the wall today in my house. And he told me, he said, I don't have talent, Mr. Bear. I said, well, you could have fooled me. He said, I read a book and I taught myself how to paint. And I'm like, you read a book and taught yourself? I said, you got to have some talent. He said, no, sir, I don't have talent. He said, I've read and I learned, and he said, I've helped others to do the same thing. And ever since Dave has been there, and it's been my experience, he's always tried to give back. And he's helped everybody. He has went out of his way to be there for other inmates and stuff like that. But he is one incredible young man. I can't say enough about him because he reminds me of my son. He looks like my son, and I feel like the time we work together, he's like my son. I pray to God that he gets, released one day, because he would be a credit to society. His knowledge, his expertise in the field. He got into looking at the center plant, and I can promise you, in the time that since I've left there, he knows what, like he said, he's running it. He was able to run it before. And to have somebody like that, and when you by yourself, and I was the only one, I was the one who would get the call at night, and it got to where I could call the barracks and tell Dave to go do it, and they'd bring him out there, and I wouldn't have to leave my home at night and trust that it was done, and it was done right. The man takes everything to heart. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Alonzo. We appreciate it. We appreciate your input and your remarks this afternoon.
I pray to God that this works out in his favor, and God bless all of y'all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Myers?
Yes, good afternoon. Again, Kerry Myers with the Louisiana Parole Project. That's hard to follow, and I know there's other speakers to come, so I won't belabor this, but we are certainly would be more than happy to have David in our program, not because we can teach him employable skills, he has that, but we can certainly help his transition. Anyone who served that much time is going to experience a world that is different from the one they're left. And we know that we can help David through that transition. He's going to have a great support system. He's certainly employable. He's not a threat to public safety based on this fact that he's a trustee at the state police barracks. And we just want to be there to help him, and we will certainly do everything we can to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Stagg? For some reason, I can't hear you. I don't know if it's me.
Me neither. No.
No.
I'll text him and ask him to unmute, please.
He's trying. It's showing up as not muted, but it's not picking up.
It did the same for me earlier when he was speaking. I couldn't hear, and then all of a sudden his volume kicked in. So it may be a volume issue.
And well, I've been having technical issues today.
Yeah.
Challenges. A little bit.
All right, I turned my volume all the way up, so I'll speak
Okay.
loud.
Yes.
Okay, I first met David in about 2011. I think you all are aware of the reentry program in Angola and the success that it has been. The first time I met David actually was when he was in the boxing ring. He was a heavyweight fighter in our prison boxing league. And if you ever meet David face to face, he's quite a big guy. He's kind of an imposing figure, but probably one of the kindest, most respectful, and gentlest guys you'll ever meet. But back to the reentry program, when we were first starting the program and looking for mentors, if you spend any time around David at all, you realize how intelligent he is. Mr. Alonzo stole my thunder a little bit, because that was one of the things I wanted to talk about is what a thirst for knowledge he has, and how he can. I really believe that no matter what David sets his mind to, if he wants to learn how to do it, he can do it. He's that intelligent. But David was one of the very first ones we went to ask to be a vocational mentor. And he jumped at the opportunity. And he just thrived in that role. It was very obvious how much he enjoyed teaching. It was very obvious how much he enjoyed helping other people learn the things that he knew. He was one of the best vocational mentors that I ever had. And I'm still a little bit mad at Captain Honeycutt for stealing him from me, because it put a big dent in our operation. But I'm glad he got the opportunity to go. That's the thing about David for me, is just the kind and gentle person that he is, how intelligent he is, and just his love for teaching other people the skills that he has, and how much he enjoys that. And I really believe David would do very well if he got an opportunity to be in society. He would probably make more money than most of us do with the skills that he's learned. So anyway, that's my take on David.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate your input as well. So we'll hear at this time from the victim's family. So can we start with Julia Nguyen? Go ahead, ma'am. Can we?
Hi.
Go ahead and tell us what you'd like us to know.
Okay. My name is Julia Nguyen. I am the sister of Tane Nguyen. I am here to speak on behalf of my family. They say time heals all wounds, but I disagree. It has been 18 years and the pain is still there. It makes me so sad to think that Tane was only 20 years old when he was cruelly taken from us. His life has ended so soon. And David has robbed me of my brother. The world has lost a truly amazing person, and we can never get him back. My mom health has declined since. There's no word to describe how losing a child is, especially when the death was tragic and caused intentionally by someone else. Our family feels David should be held accountable for his action. Why does he deserve a second chance when my brother doesn't get one? And serving a short 18 years just seems injustice for murdering and burning him alive in front of a church. My brother did not deserve that. I would also like to add that I am afraid for my well-being and the well-being of my family. A little over a year ago, David's sister showed up at my residence. I don't know what her intention was, but it took me by surprise, and I haven't felt safe since then. I don't feel like David should be released. I didn't see any remorse. All I heard was all the great things he's done, but there was no remorse. He couldn't even admit that he did have part in it. I heard with Joe that he didn't do anything to anyone. I heard Cal, and I heard Jason, and I heard Jim. I didn't hear him say he took any part of it. So I don't feel like he's remorseful.
Madam Chairman, you muted.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Julia, thank you for your input and your remarks and sharing those thoughts with us this afternoon. We'd like to hear from Miss Lisa.
Hi, my name is Tram, and this is my sister Lisa. I'm actually going to be speaking on behalf.
Okay.
I'm Tang's sister also, and I'm going to speak on behalf of him. We feel that David Main should be denied of parole. His cruel act of murdering our brother in 2002 caused our family a lot of heartache. Till this day, we're still grieving. Even though years have passed, it doesn't mean that we have forgotten what David Mains did. We still shed tears recalling the memories. Whether it's bad or good, or our suffering has not stopped and will never stop. As long as we are here, we will be our brother's advocate. David Mains has no regard to what he did. He burned my brother alive while he was trying to escape for his life. It was a very heartless and cruel intention. People make mistakes, but this was no mistake. This was a planned act. A person who can plan to take someone's life is not a person that needs to be in this free world. I really hope you guys reconsider his request.
Thank you. Ms. Megan Martin, can we hear from you?
I will be speaking on my behalf and my son. Joe is my fiance and my son's father. There's no words to explain the hardships that I have gone through for the past 18 years. The only reason I'm here is because of my son, which I learned a lot from. My son has taught me countless amounts of knowledge for being such a young person who grew up without a father. Today, my son would like My son would like to say that he does not oppose to David being released, that he wants everyone to know that he forgives David for what he did. And that's all that we have to say.
Thank you for your remarks. Mr. Nordyke, I'll turn it over to you.
I'll let David speak first, and then I will close out.
Yes. I would like to apologize to the victim's family for the pain and sorrow that I've caused them by taking away their loved ones. 19 years ago, I shot Joe Wynn, and I've lived with pain, shame, and remorse every day since. I know that I can never undo the wrongs that I have caused, but I promise for the rest of my life, I will try to atone for my actions. I stand for you in front of you here today, asking for mercy and a chance to prove to the victim's family, to my family, to my community, that I am better than that one night. Thank y'all for granting me this hearing.
I'm not going to belabor all of this, but what we do have here is a true first offender who's been at the barracks for 8 years, almost half of his time incarcerated. He's been a trustee for most of his time in prison. He only has 2 write-ups, and as Ms. Renatza mentioned, they were both low court. I think there was a 4 and a 24, as I recall. They were both low court. And they were 13 years ago. They were a long time back. He's had extensive technical training. I've done a lot of these cases, and I'm not sure I've ever had a case that with a client that has had as many technical certificates as David has. I've had clients with more certificates, but not as many technical certificates. In addition to, I don't know how many, a dozen HVAC certificates, he's also got a diploma for automotive repair and a certificate for automotive repair. So he's doubly trained. He's able to do a number of things. David will not want for work when he gets out. He's a low risk of recidivism. He's just got a lot going for him. One of the victims, Ms. Martin, I think I heard her say there was not opposition from that side of it. He was very, very young at the time of the offense. He was still in his teens. He's taken all the courses that reduce recidivism, Cage Your Rage, Living in Balance, 100-hour pre-release, and he's been active in the NA program his entire time. And he continues to be active after COVID. He wants to be active if he's released. He's agreed to go to the Parole Project, which I think would be a great thing for him should he be released. And I don't know what else to say. When it, as Carrie said, it's hard to follow Mr. Alonso, and it's hard to follow Perry Stagg. They both had remarkable things to say about David. So I would ask for pardon, reduction of his sentence and a pardon, and parole eligibility for David Maines. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nordyke. Mr. Jones, this was your case. I'll ask you first for your vote, if you're ready to do that.
Make a motion, go into executive session, please.
Okay, we have a motion for executive session. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Marabella, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Renatza?
Yes.
Mr. Marabella?
Yes.
Mr. Roche?
Yes.
So we'll be in executive session to discuss confidential matters. Stand by. We'll be right back with you. All right. I think we're all back in the room. So we will be back in regular session. And this was Mr. Jones's case, so I'll ask for his vote.
Mr. Maines? Mr.
Yes,
Maines,
sir.
can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to commend you for all the good work you've done since you've been incarcerated. All the things and all the people that you have helped since you've been in there and that you continue to do. The enforcement opposition, the petition, I just don't think you've done enough time for the crime that you've committed. This is one of the worst crimes that I've been in law enforcement a long time and was in law enforcement a long time. And this is one of the worst that I've seen. Again, I want to commend you for all the work you've done, but my vote today would be to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Roche? You're on mute, Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Maines,
Yes, sir.
based on the amount of victim opposition, and there's multiple victims, even though Ms. Martin said her and her son is not opposed, there are other victims, other multiple victims who are opposed. There's law enforcement opposition, and I must agree with Mr. Jones, 18 and a half years. The crime was committed on July 25th, 2002, and it's on 18 and a half years that you've been incarcerated. I think it's insufficient for a premeditated murder of two human beings. My vote is to deny your request.
Mr. Marabella?
Mr. Maines, listening here today and listening to my two colleagues who just voted, no question, this was a horrible crime. And I understand and certainly sympathize with the sorrow and the grief that the family of the victims have suffered. Our responsibility and our job here is to take all of those factors into account and determine what you have done and what that merits you today. You have been classified as a low risk. You have a very good disciplinary history. You have an excellent prison record. You have good recommendations by the prison personnel. You have achieved many certificates and programs while you've been in prison. You are a trustee. You have been a trustee at the Louisiana Department of the Louisiana State Police Barracks for 8 years. As a former judge, this is what I want to see people that I sentenced do when they come to prison. But I do understand the grief and the suffering of the victims in this case. My vote today would be to grant you a commutation that would grant your request and make you parole eligible after serving 21 years in prison. That would be my vote today, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr. Maines, this is a difficult decision, but I do agree with Mr. Marabella. You've done a lot of work. You've have the support of Mr. Swear and the folks at the barracks, Mr. Alonzo, and Morton Stagg. You have an excellent prison record. You have a low risk assessment score, which means you're not likely to reoffend. And particularly the community service work that you've done within your prison setting. My vote today would be, like Mr. Marabella's, that we would commute your sentence to make you parole eligible after serving 21 years. But you've received 2 favorable votes and 2 votes to deny. So the outcome of today is that your application for clemency is denied.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep up the good work, though.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. And thanks, everybody, for your participation today.
Thank you.
So he was denied. They did not recommend his sentence be commuted to the governor, but because of new legislation in the state of Louisiana, new at that time, well, it doesn't make a difference anyways. He became parole eligible due to Act 122 because it was considered manslaughter, not homicide. He has 2 counts of manslaughter and the counts of distribution, and that makes him parole eligible because he has served 20 years of his sentence and he's above the age of 40. So, boom, voila, magic, poof, legislation. They can do lots of things, and that means make him parole eligible. And we're about to see his 2025 parole hearing. Yes, not a commutation hearing, but a parole hearing, and the family has to go through this again. Now, before we do, I wish that there was more of an appeal that I can share with you, but the main appeal that we had back in the day, it's no longer available because an AI company bought them and it's just not available anymore. So we can thank AI for that. But I mean, I guess a few things off my chest. I mean, it is just you always hear this at these hearings, right? The rainbows and flying turtles and butterflies from the support, and then you go and you hear from the victims and the terror of it. And it's interesting to hear Victor Jones, who we see very little of. He had left very early on, right when we started doing these parole hearings, and it's interesting, he was a police officer for all those many years, and he actually said this is one of the worst cases I've ever seen. And that's, when he said that, I had to stop and think. I'm like, really? I mean, like, we have heard just the most horrific cases, but I guess then I took a second thought and I'm like, this was horrific. You had 2 people who, like, they could have kept driving. They could have kept going. This is the type of thing that you hear about in like a war zone where, where there's so much vindictiveness and hate between the 2 enemies where they see that they've wounded their enemies, but no, instead of just going, they actually stop. They drive their vehicle in there. They light the car on fire to burn them alive. And then when we crawl out to survive, you still at that point, then you say, no, 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 let me run him over. And when you sit like that and you think about that for a second, you're just like, what? Like these are just like, this kid's in college. He was in high school for, like, what happens because of what, some bad narcotics? What was it? What was it even? I can't even remember. Was the devil's lettuce not as good as they wanted it to be? The whole thing is just so nuts. And I get he got the manslaughter because I guess there were shots fired between them, and that's why he got the manslaughter. They didn't think the judge threw the book at him anyways. But again, you take a step after Victor Jones says that, and I'm like, this was brutal. This is things that that would, if it were done by combatants, you would get a war crime against. This is a war crime. And here they are just doing, and it's just, that's hard to understand. Anyways, we're gonna jump in to a parole hearing. Thank you, Sir Richard, for connecting dots in the spreadsheets, and thank you, Annan, for calling it out, writing notes on it, and making sure that we did cover these hearings. That's what makes it all possible. And let's jump in.
Yes, ma'am. My name is David Baines, and my number is 495-399.
Okay. On the staff on the panel today is myself, Carolyn Stapleton, Jerry Ledoux, and Chuck Tillis. Okay, I'm going to start by asking you, I'm going to ask you some questions about your record. You're a first-class offender. You've been sentenced to, your total sentence is 99 years. You have a parole eligibility date of 6/8/2025. You have an adjusted good time date of 3/23/2076. And you have a full-time date of 7 22-21-01, and your conviction was on 2 manslaughter cases, 40 years each, and a distribution of cocaine for 19 years. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to ask you, will you explain what you did that caused you to be arrested and convicted? And then you will answer why you think we should release you early. Please.
Ma'am, so first of all, I'd like to just take a moment to apologize to Joe and Tang's loved ones for the pain and suffering that I've caused them. And I would like everyone to know that I do see who they were, the lives they lived, the people they were, the people that loved them. Oh, when I was younger in college, I lived a double life. Part of the time I went to school, I did well. The other half I partied. And in partying, I began to sell drugs to try to support my lifestyle, which led me into meeting people of a shady character. One night, Jim Nguyen, my co-defendant, came to me and he made me aware of a beef he had with Joe. And Joe wanted to return some bad drugs to Jim, and that had Jim kind of nervous. So he wanted me to go along. And yes, Jim was tired of the beef and wanted to end it one way or another. So when we got to the meeting spot, an argument broke out between Joe and Jim. Jim picked up a gun and shot Joe. There was some scuffling around, and Jim began to yell for help. I picked up a shotgun out of the back of the truck and fired at Joe and Tang. They jumped into their car and took off. We pursued them in the back of the truck. Jim grabbed the other shotgun and began to fire at them. Their car came to rest in the church parking lot. Thinking that they were dead, we set the car on fire. And then Joe jumped out and we ran him over. And I think about that scene every day and the shame of what we did. When I got to Angola, because of the shame, I began to look for answers why. Not just why I was convicted, but that lifestyle leading up to that. I took some AA courses because I was intoxicated and impaired my judgment, kind of scared me. I took some rehabilitation courses to get some insight exactly what was going on with me. But ultimately, I found my answer in a strange place. I was at a rodeo meeting where Warren Kane was speaking, and I heard him say that criminals are selfish and they'll remain criminals as long as they stay selfish. And I began to work on that. That was my character flaw. It was a long process, but some of the outcomes was helping start reentry by becoming a mentor, a trade mentor, and then eventually becoming an NCCR instructor for HVAC. Because ultimately I felt better about myself when I was helping others. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Warden, is there anything you'd like to say or add?
Yes, ma'am. David has been with us since August of 2022. His last disciplinary write-up was June of that same year. He's a trustee, as he stated, in our maintenance department and does an excellent job keeping our air conditions and refrigerators running. He's programmed well, doing his incarceration, and he's done what we were asking him to do here in Hub.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, today we have it for you that are supporters that would like to speak. Well, I'm gonna read out your supporters. Vicki Meeks, your mother, Kay Thompson, a friend, Libby LeBlanc, a friend. You have Peter Stagg here at headquarters. And then on Zoom later, we'll be speaking to Carrie Myers with the Louisiana Parole Project. So right now, will Vicki Meeks, your mother, speak on your behalf, please?
My name is Vicki Meeks, and I'm David Main's mother. And I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today. And again, I'm sorry, but
that's okay.
I would like to begin by expressing my sorrow to the victims' families. I wish more than anything in the world that we could change July 17th, but we can't. But I want them to know that I have never forgotten those boys. And I am so very sorry. David was 21 years old when this happened. He's now 45 years old. I've walked with him through all these years of incarceration. I've watched him grow into the man that I knew he was, the man that I raised as a boy. Neither of us know who that was on ETN Road on July 17th, but I can testify that the man that we see today is a different man. He is an amazing man because he has done everything he can to prove that he is a hard worker, a good person, and will be a benefit to society. David can never change his crime, but he knew he had to change himself, and that is what we're looking at today. And please understand, David has never shied away from taking responsibility for his crime. His remorse for the deaths that he caused led him to mentoring inmates. David doesn't want anyone to go down the road he traveled. In an effort to save lives, David teaches skills to inmates for their employability upon release, with the ultimate goal of keeping them away from circumstances where life could be taken or their own lives thrown away. David is trying to do anything he can to stop senseless violence and teach that life is precious, because he now knows how precious life is. He is so sorry. As his mother, I'm so proud to have spoken over the years to different prison administrations, whether it was in Angola, police barracks, or Hunt. It gave me so much joy to hear wardens and others brag about my son and tell me what a good person he has done. I actually had a guard at police barracks one day tell me when I was checking in and we were talking, and he said, Vicki, I really believe that if something went down at police barracks, that David would protect us. That's how much people thought of him. I know y'all have all the certificates, so he's earned so many certificates over the years. But just 2 months ago, he on July 14, 2025, he completed another one, which is about the victims. The justice class on victim impact, listen and learn. If David is released, he will not be a danger to the public, nor a burden on society. He has many opportunities of employment. Commissioner Burl Cain, who is now in Mississippi, has offered David a job, which includes housing at a prison in Mississippi as an HVAC instructor and technician. David would continue in his mentorship of prison inmates. David would be classified as a Mississippi State employee with all the benefits associated with being a state employee. Commissioner Cain is waiting on his release, and David intends to take this job. But he's also been offered many other jobs, even though this is the job that he intends to take. So, and finally, David has a tremendous family support system. We have supported him throughout all these years of incarceration, financially, emotionally, spiritually, and visiting and all. We've actively supported him, and we will continue to support him after he leaves, if you should grant his release, leaves prison. I believe that David has shown us that he has been rehabilitated by prison. And for this reason, with this mother's heart, I beg you to let my son be released. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Okay, we have at headquarters, Mr. Perry Stagg. Would you like to speak at this time, sir? Yes, sir.
My name is Perry Stagg. I would have
about 30 years of experience in the field of corrections here in Louisiana, spending most of that time as an assistant warden in Louisiana State Penitentiary. I first came in contact with David around 2010. My first contact with him was just in social situations there in the prison, getting to know him, getting to know his character. But I really got to know him when we started the reentry program in Angola. And I asked him personally to be a vocational mentor in the program, to teach electrical, residential, and commercial electrical to young men. I would have only asked David that if I believed in his character and the things that I saw him do every day, trusted him to take responsibility for those young men. I was asked by the family to do an assessment of David's time in prison, just to kind of highlight the things that he's accomplished and what he's done to prepare himself for reentry into society. I do several things when I do an assessment. David's last 5, you have this information already. His last 5 years assessments all show he's a low risk to reoffend. David's housing location history, he's lived in dormitories his entire stay in the Department of Corrections, which indicates he's not a high risk offender. His disciplinary history, David's only had 3 write-ups his entire time in DOC, which has been about 25 years, I think, a little under 25. His disciplinary record is exemplary. You don't find too many people, only a handful that I even know of in all my time in corrections, who served that much time with only 3 disciplinary write-ups. That is astounding. That is very, very, very hard to do. So to be commended for that, and that should be a big factor in what we take into account here. David was made a Class A trustee at quite a young age. Normally, he's 31 years old. He had only been in prison a few years when he was made a trustee. A lot of that was due to his character and the skills that he had acquired. The fact that he was considered to be a trustee at a young age like that tells you a lot about what the administration thought about David. You heard his mom speak about his job history and his rehabilitative programming that he's done. You have all of that in your record as well, I'm sure. David's always been placed in areas of high security and high trust by administration for the job set to very technical equipment, sensitive electronics, security equipment, things like that. Everywhere he's been, David's been entrusted with jobs of that nature. Obviously, he's taken every class DOC has to offer, and he's taught most of them as well to other inmates. The one thing that I do when I do an assessment of an offender is I like to talk to former staff, current and former staff who've been in contact with the offender. One of the people I talked to was Captain Danny Honeycutt. He had just retired from Louisiana State Police Barracks where David had been housed. Captain Honeycutt personally recruited David from Angola to live and work at the barracks. When I spoke with him, he was extremely complimentary of David. He said he participated in every program at the barracks, that David was heavily relied upon for HVAC and electrical repair, and was always willing to pass his knowledge along to other offenders. Captain Honeycutt said that he never had a single negative interaction with David or even heard anything negative about him. He made it a point to describe the confidence he had in David by virtue of his time in the state police headquarters, where there are many weapons in plain view and a large number of female employees. Captain Honeycutt told me he would be happy to speak for David in any way he could or help in any way he could. Another person I talked to is the head chaplain at Hunt, Dr. Lawton Searcy. Dr. Searcy developed a close relationship with David over the past few years. He described David as one of the nicest guys he's ever met, said that David worked like a dog for the prison, and he's one of the most respected offenders by the administration. Dr. Searcy said he's always willing to help where needed, and he volunteers without fail for the sandbag pile in time for hurricanes and floods. I also spoke with Barry Alonzo, who was the maintenance superintendent at Louisiana State Police Headquarters. He said David was like a kid at the candy store with all the equipment in the room and just wanted to learn and soak up all the knowledge that he could. He indicated that David was able to be assigned tasks independently without supervision, and that David was extremely good at troubleshooting electrical problems. Mr. Alonzo told me that David were to gain his freedom and had no place to go. He'd gladly let David live in his house with him in his town. I mentioned earlier that I have a personal, unique perspective with David, as I spent a great deal of time with him while I was employed at DOC. David, I mentioned earlier that I made him a vocational mentor. David was always willing to help in any way he could with any project we had, whether it was related to reentry or not. He always had a positive attitude. He always had a desire to help other offenders improve their lives. Every interaction I've ever had with David, he's been humble, respectful, unwavering, and is willing to assist anyone who needed it. I know David to be a good man with good character and a good heart.
David is one of probably the top 5 inmates I've been around in my entire career when it comes to the character he displays on a daily basis. I know one thing y'all are probably concerned about is going to be the recent write-up he had at the state police barracks where he was removed and sent to hunt. Obviously, that's something that needs to be addressed. I just ask you this, look at David's entire record. Look at the fact that in 20 some odd years, he's had 3 write-ups, entire incarceration. Look at all the high level DOC staff members who talk glowingly about David. Look at the character he displays on a daily basis and ask yourself, is that consistent with the man I know? Or does that seem strange for that type of event to happen? It seems strange to me. It seems like something completely out of character that's not consistent with anything else in David's record. You heard David's mom speak about a job opportunity that David has with Burl Cain. That is in fact true. I was in Burl Cain's office in Jackson, Mississippi last week, sitting down and speaking with him. And he asked me about David and asked me how soon before David would get to go home because he desperately needs him to teach his offenders HVAC and electrical skills. That is a 60-year career DOC person who knows David personally and can't wait to hire him on his staff. So anyway, that's David. That's his time in prison and what he's done to prepare himself to be a citizen in society should he get that chance. One thing that struck me as being very important in looking at David's record is that David started pursuing rehabilitation of his character, his education, and his vocational skills when he believed he would never have an opportunity to go home, when he never believed he'd have a chance at parole. And so the fact that he did those things shows a desire to be a better person with no chance at any reward for it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, Mr. Kerry Myers with the Louisiana Parole Project, please.
Thank you. Good morning. Kerry Myers with the Louisiana Parole Project. We're here to let the board know that Parole Project has accepted David as a client. I will not go back over all the things that Mr. Stagg said. I think he summed it up very succinctly and fully. But I can tell you that when David said he was living a double life, that's real. That's true. David, in high school, David was a star football player. When he got to college, he tried to live a life that was bigger than him. As an 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, I guess the best you could say it went to his head. And, he thought he was bigger than who he was. That happens sometimes with teenagers. He got into something he could not handle. He was way over his head. The difference between that David and David today is David is humbled. David understands the harm his actions caused. But besides that, as you just heard, David's devoted himself to making himself a better person, recognizing that he was out of control. He was over his head in things he could not control. I know David. I've known David for a long time. His work, his education in prison, his skills are exemplary. His conduct record has been exemplary. That's one of the reasons Parole Project is here today for David. He does have an excellent plan. Once he finishes Parole Project, he has employment. He's going to use those skills to teach other people who need those skills. While he's here with us, we will be able to help him through the transition that someone who served 24 years in prison needs. And that'll be learning a world that's different from the one he left. And those skills will teach him social norms, financial management, technology. While he has skills, he lacks some of the socialization skills. No one who spent that much time in prison can be totally deinstitutionalized. So that's exactly what Parole Project will be able to provide to him. And when he leaves, he'll still be in structure, working at Parchman for the Mississippi Department of Corrections. David's done exactly what Mr. Stagg has said he's done. His actions from the moment he entered prison have been about being better person, about, and if you cannot make up for the actions, but it's been about trying to honor the damage that he's caused. And I know this because I know David. And so I'm asking this board to consider those things today. Consider the work that he's done, the trust that's been placed in him, the character that everyone has spoken to, the David today, and grant his parole.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Okay, at this time, we'll have people from the opposition speak. We have here at headquarters, Megan Martin. Would you like to speak?
I was on arguing with my Joe. I was Joe's fiance. I was pregnant at the time that this happened. So while I would like to commend David on all of his accomplishments that he has done while he's been in prison. That's great for him. But when someone is murdered, they're silent. He doesn't get to come here and ask for another chance. It's permanent. His voice was silent. Mine was not. I'm here to speak on his behalf. He was so much more than what happened that night. He was only 21 at that time, so he had a whole life ahead of him that was taken away from him. My son has lived his entire life in the shadow of David's actions. We paid for David's actions daily. David's actions took away my son's father. He never got the chance to have a father. The lives that David took meant something. They meant more than just saying that it was just something that happened 23 years ago. His desire for freedom cannot outweigh the severity of these crimes. His decisions had permanent consequences that affected many people's lives. I understand that David's family has suffered as well as we have, but they get to suffer with David. My son spent birthdays in the graveyard. We take family pictures with the headstone.
Saw that.
My son just graduated college without the support of his father. We spend all our holidays in a graveyard. I have pictures from my son in his carry-on car seat on the grave up until holding his college diploma in the graveyard. So it's not the same, their suffering compared to ours. The decision he made to murder 2 people is final. He was sentenced to life sentences, 40 years per life that he took. Serving 23 years is just not sufficient. That's half of one life sentence. I just don't think that granting parole right now, to me, would diminish the seriousness of the crime that happened. This was not a spur of the moment, oh, we got into an argument and I just had a weapon, I acted in the heat of the moment. This was premeditated. They cleaned bullets, they planned this, they chased them like they were animals. Overkill. So while David himself said he lived a double life, I don't know what happened in the police sheriffs, but is he really rehabilitated and able to make the transformation to be a contributing member of society? Or we get out and revert back to those ways? Whatever happened at the barracks shows me that he's still capable of having risky behavior, being violent, and just my son will pay for these crimes for the rest of his life, as will I. My son just urges you to deny today for the sake of his father's memory and for our pain and suffering. Like I said, I don't feel that the time served warrants parole at this time for the crimes that he committed. And we'll just continue to keep paying the death and final. And we have 2 lives that were cut through. Thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me to make sure that he's not forgotten and he's more than just a murder victim.
Megan, I did want to ask one question. I noticed at the bottom of all the letters that it was asked about restitution, and the response was no. I don't know if restitution for the funerals was needed, and I don't know if anyone told y'all about crime victims reparations, but that does exist for the needs of funerals. So if y'all weren't told about that, you go to your sheriff's office, and if you and they can help you fill out an application if that was never done for the funerals of these 2 young men. I just wanted to make sure you knew about it. A lot of people don't know it exists.
We did not. Thank you.
And I was on the board at that time. So I do know a lot of people don't ever even know it exists. So, and so you can go back, and then all they have to do is say that y'all were not made aware that it exists.
Okay. And I just want to say one more thing. I said that Earl Kane desperately needs David, but my son desperately needed a father. I desperately needed someone to help me raise a son. I didn't get that chance. No one here can, there's no death program that can help us. I'm proud of the work that David doing, that gives me hope that people can be rehabilitated, but you have to pay for the action that you decide to do, and it's not serving enough time.
Thank you very much, and I do understand. Okay, so now we will go to the other sister. Is this Tram Nguyen, or is that who you're talking about? There another sister that was?
Yes, I'm Tram
Yes.
Nguyen.
Okay, Tram Nguyen. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yes. So I'm Tane's sister.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am. You can make it talk. I now think she's upset.
I am. Each time we have this parole hearing,
Yes, ma'am.
it makes me angry and in a lot of pain because it brings up the memory of how my brother was tortured with no remorse.
Yes, ma'am.
The pain of thinking of how David and how my brother fought for his life, trying to escape to live, and having the people who wanted him dead watch him die. This pain has to be relived each time we do this. And each time we have this parole hearing, I express the same emotion and the same feelings and the same pain. And I don't think my pain or emotion will ever change. David never gave my brother the chance to live. He didn't have to. He didn't have the heart to help him from a burning car. He watched as my brother was tortured alive trying to survive. And the thought of his inhuman feelings to another life just fills me with anger. The impact of his action continued to cause a lot of deep and lasting trauma to our family. The fear and anxiety that his potential release brings and overwhelming, especially our parents. This morning, my mom called me and was like, she doesn't express her feelings, but she told us to let you guys know that if David is released, she is scared and she fears for her life because they know where we live. And she doesn't want to live in fear. We have tried to move on, but the emotional scar remains. Each parole hearing forces us to live a deeply painful time in our lives. And this is why we asked the parole board to deny his request for parole.
Thank you, ma'am.
I know he tried to change, but you guys don't understand the pain that we had to live with. Not to see him, we had to have a closed casket. He could have helped and stopped all the action of what they did, but he didn't. And to know that my brother was struggling with his handprint in the mud by the car trying to escape the fire and no one helped him. They just watched him die.
Ma'am, I'm very sorry about you having to go through this. We all are. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. The next caller is Julie. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Julie Nguyen. I am the sister of Tate Nguyen. Sorry.
That's okay.
I am writing this statement to express my opposition to the parole of David Maines. July 17 was the day my brother was stolen from us forever. His absence has left a permanently and devastating void in our life. His murder shattered our family. The day we received the news is the date forever etched in our mind. And every holiday, birthday, and special occasion since then has been haunted by his absence. I've watched the joy leave my parents' eyes, and the stress has caused their health to decline. I personally suffer from PTSD, anxiety, and sleep issues, and have been to therapy to learn to live with this pain. The thoughts of the offender being released after 23 short years sends a paralyzing fear through me. The small sense of safety we have managed to create for ourselves would be instantly destroyed. We have not been able to heal because we are constantly reminded of the violence that took our brother, murdered and burned in front of a church. Granting parole would be resentencing our family to more fear and pain. We're giving a life sentence of grief, and the offender should serve the sentence he was given. I ask that you consider the lasting permanent damage that was inflicted on us and deny his request for parole. My family deserves peace, and so does my brother's memory. David Maines took away my brother's right to life. David Maines does not deserve the right to freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. Okay, that at this time, this case belongs to, has been assigned to Chuck Tillis. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, Ms. Ledoux. Any questions? Any questions, any statements or anything? All right, I think the family has covered their feelings of grief, which is very deep. And then you do have opposition from law enforcement, the ADA, the chief of police, and the attorney general's office. I do know that, Mr. Main, you've done a lot to improve yourself. There's no doubt about that. And you're certainly an asset to a lot of people, and you continue to be so. But you served, let's say, 23 years of a 99-year sentence for the heinous death of 2 individuals. That their families, you can see, they have not at all begun to get over. Some people think that maybe there's just no time for grief, and you're doing. You're commendable. Everything that you're doing is very important, also. But you know, I listened to what they had to say, and I think I'm very glad that they were able to come here and speak. But I know that it was very difficult. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
What's your?
Mr. David, I'm really, it's good that you've changed and are doing some things better, but due to opposition of family and law enforcement, my vote today is to deny.
Mr.
Maines, yeah, I listened carefully to and there's 379 pages in your record. I've read them all, and I'd like to see some time since the 22 write-up that removed you from the police barracks. I think there needs to be a little more time, and serving 23 of 99 was not enough. You did plead down for first degree, but my denial does not negate the positive things that you have done, and I appreciate those in support of you, who hopefully will stand by you.
All right. So, and then my vote is to deny also. I don't feel like you served enough time on a 99-year sentence. I think the crime, especially considering the heinous nature of the crime. And then there's law enforcement opposition and extreme victim opposition. So the vote today is unanimous on denial of your parole, sir. Your parole is denied.
And that's it. Another pretty much swift denial. And frankly, I thought there'd be more emphasis on him getting removed from the police barracks. You think that would be like the biggest talking point? Maybe I missed it. You know, what I do is I'll combine the hearings. I'll get a message from Ann and say, Mandoo, check out this hearing. I'll go into the spreadsheets. I'll see that they're or connect the dots, right? Then I'll combine them. Then I'll load them to YouTube so that I can listen to it while I'm multitasking, and I'll listen to both hearings. Then I put it into my editing software and I make it smoother and I take out the right blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it's possible that I miss things because of what's happening. I don't always. So if I'm wrong, let me know down below. But I just don't recall there being any deep dive, any emphasis on why he got removed from the police barracks. Usually that's the biggest talking point. That's a huge red flag. How did that happen? I mean, it's like there are different levels of where you can be. The highest level you can be, and we've seen it a few times, is in the governor's mansion. It's like actually being stationed in the governor's mansion. You might be a butler, you might be I don't know, a gardener, and that's usually the most coveted. And then anything below that is the police barracks. And it's a much better life, and to get removed from it, and then come up for parole, and it seems that he got removed for it like within a year of the last parole hearing. Anyways, maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed it. I that wouldn't be the first time I've missed something, but it was it was they let the supporters, it seemed, talk forever and ever and ever and ever. And it was like, why? Why were you letting them just like talk their ears off? I mean, at least they didn't tell the victims to wrap it up, but it just felt like too much. And I didn't take a clock to it. It just felt like a long time. And that's why you need Miss Renatza at these hearings. You know, like she's the one who runs the tight ship. And when you don't have Miss Renatza, you can have these just long, long, long drawing comments. And then, of course, you hear from the victims and the pain from the victims and just how it absolutely is. They're still suffering. I don't know, like, what did it have to do with it? You were a football star in high school, and then you were in college, and it's like, well, you probably weren't that great of a football star if you weren't playing in college. I don't know. I know that's, but it's like, well, like that was what was he, it makes you wonder, what if he didn't show up? Like, imagine his life. What if he didn't, when his buddy said, "Hey, I need some muscle for this narcotic thing." What if he said no? What if he wasn't there? Would he have ended up in prison anyways? Would he have ended up killing someone? Or is it really just one crazy decision can end you up behind bars like this? It's just so crazy to think. Again, you have to go back into the insanity of it. It's not just like this was these were men who they shot up their car, and then they rest in a church parking lot, and instead of just keep going, no, 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 instead they decide to light the car on fire, and then when they see a survivor crawling away, they said, no, 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 let's go run him over. And it's like, what makes someone do this? Why is there this horrific crime happening in this small town in Louisiana by this? What makes you do something so violent? It's really hard to fathom when you actually think about it in the moment. Like, what makes someone do something like that? Um, and I guess he can now, keep applying every few years. I'm not sure what the period is, if it's every 2 years. But I have nothing else to add. I don't have the appeals on this because, again, like some AI company bought it up, and um, uh, there's not much to go over. And I mean, we do have his co-defendants appeal that is available, but it doesn't add anything meaningful to this. I, that's it. That's it. I'll leave you with the final words from the victims.
The impact of his action continued to cause like a lot of deep and lasting trauma to our family. The fear and anxiety that his potential release brings and overwhelming, especially our parents. This morning, my mom called me and was like, she doesn't express her feelings, but she told us to let you guys know that if David is released, she is scared and she fears for her life because they know where we live. And she doesn't want to live in fear. We have tried to move on, but the emotional scar remains.